Hello, welcome to the podcast from Duendelvin. I'm Corbin, this is Jeff, and Kyle, and they need to tell you what we're talking about today, because I have not been informed.
Oh, we're talking more about religion, bro.
Okay, we're still on religion.
We have 2 more Horakai to go through.
Oh, yeah, you did tell me. I just forgot.
2. It's my apologies. 2. We have 2 more Horakai tenants to talk about.
All right.
Cave.
All right, so which 2 are we talking about today for those who haven't been in the loop?
All right. So if you haven't been in the loop, then definitely say go watch the first 2 other episodes. We have 2.
Jeff is going to say, go watch the other 2 episodes.
Uh-huh.
Because we have all that information there.
It's all there.
So, and since we're doing the podcasts more like 30 minutes, we don't have time to cover,
Past
everything. But,
Yeah, we're not going to just recap the whole past episode.
so we're going to talk about Kettling and Elios today.
We were talking about polar opposites and their tenant views.
Covenant view.
Covenant views. Yeah, not...
Yeah, the tenants are all identical.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way you view the tenants will be changed by the covenant you make.
Right.
Yeah, so the tenant views. Covenant views.
Yep.
Interesting choices.
All right, which one do you want
Words
first?
have words.
Do you want to do Elios or Kettling?
Which one do you want to do first?
Well, you know my answer. Elios.
Okay, let's do it. Elios is mercy.
No.
His covenant.
No.
He is. He's mercy.
Covenant is, in all I do, I promote compassion.
Yeah.
I am the heart of mercy.
Yeah, it's a good covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that covenant work? Like, how does it play into everything?
Well, okay, so...
This is why we picked these 2, because this is going to be...
Yeah.
Conflicting.
So again, remember, alignment, how I see my life, my existence, and all that kind of stuff. As a Savarionite, the way that we're designed is like my design functions as my primary goal, right? So if I choose at 16 or 18, whenever you go to Garthia, to choose your god that the church pays for, right? You pick one, right? And then so if I choose Elios, then when I look at like, okay, so it's an affront of the Horakai to lie for personal gain, right? I'm compassion here, right? So I would lie
To spare someone's feelings.
to spare someone else's life or feelings. If it wasn't about me, like if I didn't want to hurt your feelings, I could justify lying to you.
Yep.
Because I want to be merciful to you. Or stretching the truth a little bit, right? That would be compassion.
Stretching the truth not even be considered lying?
No, it's 100% a lie.
No, it's still
Yeah, still a lie. Stretching the truth is the kind way of saying, bro, I just lied to you.
right. It's twisting the truth. So
I'm
But-
telling you the parts you want to hear, and that's maybe a little bit of a stretch, but sort of.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because our mercy concept isn't always just to turn the other cheek, and we'll get to that, where it'll be more merciful to take someone's life than it would be to allow them to continue to screw up. Because the more they break the tenets, the more they step away from the Horakai, the closer they put everybody else in danger. So not only would the just thing to do, what the mercy thing to do would be to put them down, to prevent them from straying further from the gods.
It's like putting down a rabid dog.
Effectively, yes.
well, okay, so let's use the example we were talking about last week with the abusive parent.
Yep.
Right? Now, in Zayok's case, right, the parent could justify that because the purpose is to maintain order, right? Now, that's an acceptable behavior. But if I was a follower of Elios, I would say, but it is not merciful to the children to allow this to go on. And so taking
not
the life
beat
of the
up
parent...
Wife's children.
What?
What?
Don't beat up the children.
Don't
Yeah.
beat up the children. Well, but you could justify that in Zayok's world.
Or the wife.
But Elios
Or the
could...
wife.
Elios could logically justify killing the parent that was doing that.
If he doesn't
because
correct
it's
himself.
unmerciful to the children,
Yep.
right? It would be merciful to say, "Hey, this needs to stop," and then he'd be like, "But Zayak demands order," and you're like, "Okay, but that's not merciful to the children, so I'm gonna remove you from the equation."
Which wouldn't be considered murder and wouldn't be unjust because it's for a purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's you would always have to argue the tenets. And so if you decided to get called out to court with that, it's going to be like, but I was following within the lines of my belief structure, and it's not okay to beat children
Well,
or wives.
and then in
Or
that
husbands.
case, would everyone have to take into thought what are my tenets and then what are Theranic's tenets? Because
Well, that's what
No.
the laws were going to be. That's why you have to study under each of the covenant views for 4 years before you can actually step into a judge role.
okay,
You have to be able to see from that
they get
perspective.
tall hats.
I don't think we've talked about their appearance.
We have not.
I joke about the idea of picturing them with the tall hats, like an Abraham Lincoln hat with a powdered wig, like by George Washington. But no, that's a hard no. We're not doing that. That just
Well,
looks goofy.
The main head guy just had a really tall hat, and we did talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the Pope hat. I can't call it the Pope hat. I'm sorry. There's
the head church guy,
the big hat.
the big guy.
We got
Yeah.
lost talking about what they look like.
Yep.
We were in the middle
Back
of
into
talking
it.
about something. So,
Sorry.
Ian, if they have a question, let them know.
Yeah. Have him ask it.
But it would also be merciful, like if I was a thief, it would be merciful to give me another chance.
Yep.
Right, to make amends, to make things right. That would also be merciful. It wouldn't necessarily be
The just thing to do.
just
Would it-
or orderly or peaceful, but it would be merciful to do that.
Would it also be merciful to say take something from someone that was harming them?
You could justify that.
If
somebody
you
was
found someone that was like a terrible person because they had too much money and you just took their money, would that be considered
well, I was going to
mercy?
say that you would have a hard time arguing, even with like
Even with justice, even with
with justice and mercy, that would be hard to argue. However, if there was somebody who was addicted to a
Motivation.
mind-altering
Motivation.
Yeah.
they were addicted to a mind-altering drug, and they were causing harm under the influence of that drug, yes, I believe that you could argue it would be merciful to
remove their
remove that.
substance from them.
Yeah.
So yes, there are situations.
Yep. So mercy's pretty straightforward because there's many different ways you can view it. I say straightforward. It's actually not. It's more fun in that regard. Because yes, you can pick I'm the merciful executioner. Your life is a burden, so let me end it for you.
Well, then
That
you're
is a
just
very
as good as the dragon.
That is a very merciful viewpoint to take.
Right. Not very many people would follow Elios if that was their viewpoint.
No, they would
Although,
follow in the different
yes.
pathways, but that is an option for Elios.
But remember, when you go to Garthia, think of it like you internalize it. Like theoretically, yes, right? But realistically, how often is it going to happen? Probably not. Put yourself in this situation. Let's say you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and you're headed to the capital city of the world to stand in front, and like you get a free vacation to go stand in front of the
Ecclesiarchs.
Vassal
Vassal, yeah, sorry.
You're
Ecclesiarchs wrong word.
struggling with that. Ecclesiarchs.
Bad.
You go stand in front of the Vassilarchs, and they say, "Here are your choices
Vassal.
to follow." Right?
I
Who
choose
will
that
you
guy.
choose? And so you're going to choose somebody that you kind of align with anyway.
Yep.
Right? So in this situation, right, you're going to see Elios. In all I do, I promote compassion. I am the heart of mercy. And if you're the kind of personality who's like, I want to end people's lives mercifully, you're probably not going to be like, compassion is my go-to. You probably choose something else, as your chosen God.
Sure, compassionate killer.
Well, right. So
Yeah,
you
that's the
can
point.
be, but what I'm saying is, logically,
you're more likely gonna
those
be a
people aren't
healer.
going to exist
Yeah.
a whole lot.
Sure,
There won't be very many.
Passionate killer, you have something wrong with your head.
No.
If that's
pains
all
me
you
to-
strive to do in life,
Let's be a passionate killer.
passion.
That's a different episode we can talk about the idea of serial killers and justification of such in this world.
I
Anyway,
mean, it wouldn't really be a serial killer if it was justified.
I mean, just serial killers justify their actions all the time. We just view them as wrong.
Right. That's because in our society, the ending of a life is wrong, period. Like, it's not if it's unjust. Like, there has to be really extenuating circumstances before it's like, okay, you're not going to jail for that.
And
But
basically,
our
the
law
line
lays that
here
out,
is
whereas-
you can't randomly kill people.
Yep.
Right.
Without justification.
There has to be a reason
But
you're killing
again,
them.
remember, like, I feel like we talk about this, a little bit as like caveats and stuff like that. But I want you guys to understand that, like, when you're thinking about this, yes, people will step out and make mistakes. But remember, in the world that we live in, people don't step outside of the law for two reasons. One, they don't want to get in trouble for it. And two, there's a moral code written on our heart, right? That is written on your heart. Okay. Now, in Savarion, the
There's no
moral
moral
code that would be written on our heart is your tenets, right? So if you're born in our world with the moral compass not to end life, like, it's going to be a huge deal. Like, you're going to be like
Conflicted.
distraught. There's going to be confliction. Even if somebody else's life is in danger, there's still that conflict because I'm not supposed to be the one that carries that out,
There's
right?
other people that are called to do that. That's not my calling.
Right. There's justice. There's all these things in place, and
I'm playing
like,
one of them.
I personally am like, would I to protect my family? Yes, but there's still this conflict, right? But that's because it's built into me as a human. In Savarion, that's not built into them.
Nope.
Right? And so people aren't going to take advantage of it that way, the same way that humans do. It's not going to be like a taking advantage of or anything like that. Because the punishment for humans on Earth is like, maybe
Incarceration.
I'll get caught and get in trouble, right? And then, like, depending on what happens in our afterlife, maybe I'll go to heaven, maybe I won't. All that kind of stuff. Like, those things are tension here on Earth. In Savarion, the tension is if I screw up, like, literally a dragon might show up and kill me,
And everyone I know.
right?
And everyone around me.
Like, so, and it's a huge, like,
Yeah.
almost immediate punishment kind of thing. So the organizations that operate outside of the tenets and the covenants of faith hide their
Their
like, they're super hidden so that they can, like, sneak around and do that because they literally live in fear of this dragon showing up and killing them, which is an episode that we have not. Ian, did we launch that episode?
No, that's a backup
No, that's our
episode.
backup.
Okay, we have a backup one. So on one of these weeks when we can't do this, you'll see the dragon.
You get to learn
So,
about the
but-
dragons.
But I want you guys to understand that because I think it's hard because mentally we struggle with that, right? And I think most people do because they want to correlate right and wrong to what we think right and wrong is. And the moral dilemma that a Savarionite would face is not the same as ours,
Truth.
right? Because their vertical alignment is
direct
their
punishment.
tenets of faith through the lens of their covenants. Like, that's their, how they view the world, right? So
It's going to be interesting. But talking about, like, adventuring in this world and, like, having people going out and do stuff and, like, having BBEGs, big bad evil guys, how you want to look at that. The fact that they're being dispatched and not being, like, called by God, or those people aren't being punished by the divine entities, and then said this adventuring party kind of rolls out there and says, "Oh, hey, I got to get you."
I'm gonna get
is interesting because effectively, there's some issues where the Horicai are like, we don't care, man, you can go handle that business, and sometimes they're like, you know what, that little guy right there, get him.
So when you break the tenant, it's a coin flip as if you get sent by
It just depends
dragon
on
or not.
if they feel like they haven't made a presence enough time in a while. Like, there's a time frame between
So you're okay to break the covenants right after the dragon came.
but
Maybe,
you won't, but you won't,
but you won't
because you don't know what the Horicai time
you live
timeline.
in constant
fear.
of the crackdown happening, right? And because you live in that constant fear, the people who are gonna not let you get away with it would also be dramatic.
Yep.
Right? Because then there's the idea of failing in your proper worship of the gods, right? Neglecting those in your charge, lying for personal gain, right?
All of those things.
unjustly break loyalty. All of this like promotes me to be like, that guy did something wrong.
We have to
I'm not
take
going to
care of it.
stand here and just let him get away with it, you know, because the dragon might kill
dragon
him
and-
and I'll get in the way,
Yep.
you know.
Dragons do wanton destruction, not individualized destruction.
Yep. Oh,
So-
so it's like, oh, that man's screwing up. We need to get rid of him.
We need to make sure
The
he's
people-
properly taking, like, that we
Assisted, prepared, not prepared, like assisted or
Relocated.
no, not relocated, but that's an option as well. I'm looking for like rehabilitated.
rehabilitate.
Bring
But
him back
it's our
into the
job
light
to
of
make
the
sure
Horkai.
that he gets rehabilitated properly, whether that's death or prison or whatever. But we have to do that so that the Horkai don't show up and do it themselves, because they're terrible.
Would there be a way
scare
to
me.
take someone that's like, I guess, what do you say, like marked by the dragon or something? What
No,
would that be? Like someone who's broken the tenets and just send them to a neighboring country because you don't like that country?
no, because they would see that as a dishonest maneuver, and everyone's getting wrecked. Everyone's getting wrecked. If you have someone who tries to maneuver an individual who is actively railing against the Horkai and ship them off to another spot, you are still ultimately responsible. And the Horkai know this because they are gods and they see all.
And now you're putting someone else in danger because you don't want to
Yep.
take care of.
Or because you're trying to sneakily or underhandedly destroy another nation.
Okay, so that would break other.
Other covenants will be absolutely destroyed by it. Yeah. It'll
So
be
you
bad.
wouldn't do that.
No. But no, you try to do that, and then the dragon's going to come in and be like, you and all your advisors and your city and...
And your family and your friends.
But it has been fun with the role playing game. We've been adding this in now that we have it. It has been more fun because people are developing a deeper personality, but a deeper connection to like the game, so that it's like their character's actually someone who's-
portraying their viewpoints. Yeah.
And they're like arguing over, but no, Zayok would say, they're like, I don't care. Theranik says this. So
Stop
it's,
fighting. You're
a
not
lot of
beating
fun.
up the children.
so, which I'm going to throw something out
Oh, no.
and it's dangerous, but it looks like a lot of people are watching. So. If you come and see this, feel free.
Yeah,
So-
6 people.
We have 6 people. Sweet.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
We still have to bring up Elia,
Um,
or Kettling. Not Kettling.
I know.
Yeah, Kettling.
Kettling.
I know. So we are
Kettlecorn.
working really, really hard on the role playing game. We want you guys to experience it.
Oh, yes.
We will be releasing it.
We lost one.
There's a lot of people
okay.
here. You want to see it? Oh,
We
bye.
will be releasing the role playing game online for free as a wall of text. So when we finally get to the point where we can like release the game, the final copy, the printed, the pictures and all that kind of stuff, it'll be pretty and all that kind of stuff. But you will be able to play the game
PDF style.
PDF style in the not so distant future.
We're, consistently and aggressively flushing it out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
It's
of work.
Kyle and I recently found something that has to be vetoed. CC scares.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had an ability that we can talk about later. We'll do the episode for Thursday. We'll talk more about the role-playing game and what got fixed.
Okay.
That's probably fun. So we'll go into Kettling, because Kettling... Are we finished with Elios, I should
I
say?
think so. Are we
Are we?
finished with Elios? Do you feel like we're finished with Elios? Ian, do you have any questions from Elios? Audience, do you have any Elios questions? No. Okay.
Cool.
So-
Kettling.
Kettling is the viewpoint of justice. Okay, now this is where Kettling gets fun, because Kettling followers are also the ones you would predominantly find that would be part of the Vassalark Protectorate, who are in charge of upholding contract laws and administering punishments. So they are all about justice. It doesn't matter what was done, and if you want to read their covenant oath,
Yeah. And all I do, I promote impartiality. I am the hammer of justice.
Hammer!
Which, yeah. So, did we release the Protectorate one? where we talked about the Vassalar Protectorate?
That was last Thursday.
Yeah,
or is that
Thursday.
gonna be next?
It's the one that was scheduled to release 5 days ago.
That's already released. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All religion. We need to work on your speed of typing. Sweet. Cool. All right, so go back and watch that one that has the Vassalar Protectorate.
And it'll make more sense.
Go back and watch. Okay. Go back and watch everything.
Definitely.
Go back and watch.
There's a
There's
lot
a
of good
lot.
information in there.
And we fly Kungen.
And if you ever have any questions in those videos, please put in comments on there if we didn't get to it. That way we can get there and we'll respond to your
We'll
comments.
respond.
Yep. All right. In the meantime, so I love it because the justice ideology is very, very interesting because they don't care. They don't care about your sob story. They don't care about your position. They don't care about what drove you to do the thing. They're there to impartially promote and exact justice.
If you steal, you get your hands cut off. It doesn't matter that your family was starving.
I mean, that may not be the punishment for that, but
No, but in a our world sense.
yeah, there was a time and a place where if you stole, your hand was removed, and that's. I think it started off with a finger first. You lost a finger, and then two, and then eventually you lost the hand.
Well, it would be based on, like, the Podalayan Empire might have, cut off your one hand for theft, whereas the Gondaris Empire might have, like, you lose a pinky the first time or whatever. And
But they'll uphold the laws of the empire that they are beholden to.
And it would be very, like, because the Covenant is promoting impartiality, it would be very non-emotional.
Yes.
Right? So your Elios people are going to be highly emotional. Like, they're going to make decisions based on what they think is merciful. And so it's all a feeling thing. I promote compassion. Right? That's an emotion. Cataline, I promote impartiality. I will not budge on the law regardless of how I feel about it. Right? It doesn't matter who did what. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Doesn't matter how poor you are. Doesn't matter if you came from nothing and you're struggling and all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if you can throw the world at me. None of that matters. What matters is you broke the law. This is the punishment for it. You should suffer the punishment.
Medieval Judge Dredd.
Yeah. So.
They're the closest thing I think we have to an Inquisition concept as well.
The Protectorate?
The Protectorate, but also the Kettlene followers in general. They would be very much I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
They don't see anything but what you did wrong.
Yeah. They view the world as black and white. But they're the most strict about it too. It doesn't matter why you broke the laws of the land.
They would also be the most likely to rat someone out for doing something.
Well, absolutely.
Because it doesn't matter who you offended or when you offended them or how close proximity I was to the offense. I saw it happen.
So I am by my own covenant bound to do something about it.
Right. Which, in the event of Kettlene, is not necessarily directly stepping in. I don't have to take your hand off because you stole something as a Kettlene follower. I could just tell the guards. Like, I don't have to be the one that, carries out the punishment. But I do have to step in to make sure...
If I see it, I have to make sure punishment happens to you.
Well, I don't have to make sure. I have to make... I have to, in
ensure
my own...
steps are taken
Exactly.
Okay, so
bring this to right. If
I'll
it's a
do
wrong,
what's
must be
in my
right.
power to make sure those actions are
Exactly. What's in
exacted.
my power. Yep.
And so if you're not in the authority to exact that kind of punishment, if you are not a town's guardsman, you're not going to be like, off with his head.
Because most towns, and especially the large
I was
empires
pulling
and
out
cities,
a sword. I apologize.
most towns and large cities would have
Town guard.
Because you one of the covenants of existing as part of the town is it's not your job to carry out punishment, right? And so that would stop a random citizen, and I love you, random citizen, of
Thanks,
carrying
Metro Man.
out justice, right? Because then there'd be so much just
Wanton,
bad and happening all the time, and so it would be on you to tell somebody who could or whatever. But if you belong to a city, in many cases you sign a covenant contract that says I will not carry out
it's not your job to exact. There's going to be a constable. There's going to be a position of authority that's going to handle that in whatever size town you're in. since Garthia is made up of many little towns, they also have their own policing force. You're going to have representation available, but if you lived in a one pony town, I don't know how to put this, we don't have ponies either. Like if you lived in a very small rural community,
town.
yeah, 1 Irbisol town, where there's not a whole lot there, you're going to have someone who's appointed to fulfill that role.
Right.
Whether they're however this town wants to run, whether they're called, they're elected, they're born into it.
Right.
Just depends.
Because then,
We have a
whether or not
matriarch of execution.
someone is punished for their
Possible.
behavior has gone through a judge in most cases.
Yes.
Because while you could logically argue, I'm going to end your life because XYZ through whichever God I follow, that causes too much disruption in the peace
You
of
would
the kingdom.
offend the
And
peace and
Theranik
the
is
order.
still
Top
the
dog.
top dog.
Yep.
Right? And so if that kind of behavior disrupts peace too much, you
gonna
just
have
can't
clash.
live that way.
Yep. Same thing with order. If executions, if that kind of behavior, effectively, like this man who stole for whatever reason, can prove that there was a reason for his theft. Justice isn't going to care. Justice is impartial. If he was a great craftsman and they cut off his hand, then the order of things gets completely thrown out of whack because he was supporting an industry, a town,
They would
a
exact
purpose,
a
a function.
different punishment.
They
that
would find
didn't
a punishment
that didn't impair his crafting.
Exactly. They would find a way to punish him without creating a
Maybe.
Taxes.
That's
If they were a
possible.
Theranik or Zayak town, yes.
Yeah.
If they were a Kettling town, absolutely. They'd be
They'd
like,
just
well,
be
it doesn't matter.
Justice is justice.
Right? You're a great blacksmith, and we love all the work that you're doing, and
It's
we
too
appreciate
bad
all
you
the
decided
work.
to steal a sweet
Shouldn't
roll.
have done that. You know?
Don't take
So.
the cinnamon rolls.
So,
Not my cinnamon.
I mean, but this is a huge part of everybody's life. So, and with contract law being as important as it is in Savarion, people aren't going to make willy-nilly decisions.
Heck no.
Laws aren't going to be like,
I'm
you lose a
breaking
hand
fun.
because you stole. It'll be like, there would be a more nuanced answer
Yeah.
to that. It wouldn't be, because Kettling followers would be like, well, the blacksmith stole a blueberry, so we need to cut his hand off, right? So there would have to be, like, the first time that happened, the town would be like, okay,
This is bad.
we need a more nuanced answer to where it's like,
It was one
No.
blueberry.
And he picked it up. He wasn't even trying to steal it. He just wanted to put it back.
right. So, like,
You didn't pay for that. Boom, off of his head.
so get the judges involved, and we have a nuanced answer for that. But, you know,
I fear the streets. I don't want to see the blueberries.
I fear the
You don't
blueberries.
step on one. That's you
That's
don't step
destruction
on
of-
one. You don't pick up one. You,
Destruction of property. Off of his leg.
but for the most part, because of the way the tenants are and the covenants are,
Blueberries.
and the way the Horkai exist,
cabbages.
most people spend a lot of their time just fulfilling their purposes.
Yeah. They have more.
Most of Savarion is fairly peaceful.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. Like, so we live in a very tumultuous and crazy world. Stepping outside of the city, stepping outside of the towns, engaging in the world as a whole from a non-citizen perspective is very tumultuous. It's very crazy. It's very wild. It's very rough.
Unless you're a keeper of the
The
flame.
weather is consistently changing on you. You wake up every morning and you have no idea what the weather's going to do from 1 hour to the next. There's always the possibility of random events
You
occurring.
Inspired where we live.
American weather is apparently super eclectic and bipolar.
It was
American weather?
snowing
No, just
the
Colorado.
other day.
I mean, American as a whole, like that's a fun part of seeing this.
Colorado's worse than everybody.
That's fair, but I mean, Utah's pretty bad. You've also got Alaska's pretty wild in its own right.
They're all wild, but we're inconsistent.
We're bipolar.
So yeah, there's this whole thing where like yes, there's so much chaos in the world of Savarion just from their own consequences, like from their own actions and the actions of their ancestry, that these moments of peace and order would be precious, and so they would focus and work and attempt to maintain in their bubble this like modicum of control, this
So the
modicum
people
of peace.
leaving towns would be merchants, caravans,
Caravanners, guards. Yep.
parties, keepers of the flame, and then secret guilds,
So secret organizations are going to be all over the place.
and then weirdos.
And then
Lots of
adventurers.
people
Yeah,
would.
because there's a need for hunters to go out as well.
Yeah,
Hunters,
you gotta keep the
there's
fuckers away.
homesteaders are going to go and find new resources and new places to live. There's the call to adventure.
But there would be. That's
Great
why
game, by the
the
way.
caravanners are such a big deal.
Yeah.
Is because anybody who wasn't like going on an adventure would be like, I'm going to go with the caravanners on a paved road. because it's protected.
It's safer that way, because yes, you do have wild things. I mean, there's also corrupting influences that cause certain creatures to go a little bit awry, a little bit crazy, a little awry is the word, the right pronunciation. There's Arlies out there, yeah.
So,
There's all
There's
sorts of
zombies.
things. Yeah, the dead walk. The dead don't stay dead.
Sometimes.
the dead don't stay dead.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
There
We went
are
over-
zombies.
so
We're
bad.
over time.
Yeah, we are. There
Well,
are
that's-
zombies,
that's-
but they're not like zombie apocalypse.
No,
No, I
we
know, but
we are yeah.
We haven't
We're
done
from Duendelvin. We've gone over all the religion aspects and kind of how it applies to the world. So, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your
Yeah,
friends.
put mercy or justice, depending on
Oh,
which one
yeah.
you want in the comments. Or
Definitely throw out there which one of them you follow. We got justice, mercy, peace, and order.
They're chaos.
We can get into the deeper depths of them another time if you ask.
ready.
A blue ad.
Wood.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.